and welcome to a video. Cool, so I get asked a lot of questions about what equipment I use to vlog and do convention coverage and do reviews and do like other videos. So I decided to make a video about how I make videos because I'm lazy and then I can just point people to it. So I have 6 cameras that I use. The camera that I actually use the most would be my Hero 3 Plus GoPro. I've had this for a really long time. I actually got this originally for snowboarding videos. You can tell there is some filming quality difference between this camera, which is my Hero 3 Plus GoPro, and this camera, which is my DSLR. But for the most part, this is actually how I record when I record reviews or most vlogs. I don't use a selfie stick. I just use my hand, and I've figured out how to hold the camera so I'm not covering up the mic. And yeah, it auto-focuses and does a whole bunch of auto stuff for me, so I actually like using the Hero Plus because I don't have to worry about it, which is really great. So yeah, this is my primary go-to camera, this guy right here. The second camera that I use the most would be my DSLR. Actually, not really. It depends on what video I'm shooting. If I'm shooting a video like in my house and I need a tripod, I shoot on the DSLR because it's a better quality footage, and if I'm shooting with a tripod, I don't have to worry about the weight of it because the DSLR is heavy. So the DSLR that I use would be the EOS Rebel T4i, and I'm gonna film it with the GoPro. Here we go. I have a Rode mic attached to it, and there's cat hair and dog hair on it. The lens that I have on it is an 18-35, I believe. It's a really awesome lens that my dad actually gave me, and I was really lucky in that I didn't have to pay for it because it's a very expensive lens. I've used this camera at conventions, and I actually bring it with me to most conventions I go to, and then I end up like leaving in the hotel room because it's just really heavy. Back when I was shooting interviews at conventions, this was the camera that I would use because the GoPro mic is not as good as the Rode mic. But I don't really do interviews anymore because my audience primarily is more interested in the day in the life videos, which a lot easier to do on the GoPro. So this camera, I really love it. Really, it just stays home for the most part. I don't know if I'll bring it to Essen or not. We'll see. I'm filming for a few different things that aren't my own, so I might bring it to Essen for those, but who knows. Mostly a stay-at-home camera, really expensive, and also really overkill for producing videos, like entirely. I would even say this is overkill. For serious. It's also kind of expensive. The number 3 camera that I use when I am at conventions or doing reviews, or if I'm just out and about and I want to film a game, would be my cell phone camera. I have a Nexus 5, but I actually have filmed with a lot of my cell phones. Cell phone cameras are at the point where they're really solid. I do know with an Android phone, it's really easy to sync the videos and pictures that you take with Google Drive, and so I just use that whenever I'm filming with my phone. For example, the Karuba review is shot entirely on my phone. Most of the B-roll that I shoot, especially for my older videos, have just always been on phones. Sometimes I use Steve's phone if I want to record something and I don't have my phone or the GoPro. So, or maybe I want to film 2 things at once. Camera phone, totally good. The mic isn't bad. There's definitely a difference between the front camera and the back camera, but it's really great quality. So if you have a smartphone, you already have a really good camera that you can use to start producing videos, and some of them even have pretty decent video editing software if you're not doing anything really crazy or involved. So yeah. The 4th camera that I use is for also at-home filming, and I use it for streaming. And I use it when I'm like live on shows and stuff. This is the Logitech 1080p HD webcam. Yeah, I know that a lot of people use these for streaming and stuff like that, and we actually have 2 of them. One is supplied by my work, because I work freelance and don't worry about it, and one of them is technically ours, but we wouldn't be able to do the streaming setup if we didn't have the 2, so when work wants the camera back, I will be buying another one. But they're a pretty good price, so if you're filming from home and you don't want to invest in a DSLR, or you don't have one, and maybe you don't have a smartphone, these are pretty good cameras. The mics on here are pretty decent, so if you're doing stationary reviews with a tripod or something like that, totally doable. You just hook it up to your computer and just use, most computers have recording video software, especially if they have like internal cameras like MacBooks or Windows machines have various recording software that you can get for free, and you just say this is the camera you want to use, and you film or you stream or whatever. Super easy, super straightforward, decently affordable. That would be the fourth and the fifth camera that we use. The other camera that we use is also the same exact as this, and it's actually currently mounted to an overhead rig. This is a mic boom, and it was like 30 bucks on Amazon. It's a really cheap one. It's kind of flimsy. It needs some weights, but this is what we use to get that overhead shot. So you can't really see the rest of it, but this is the overhead table mount that we use, and we just have one of these HD webcams hooked on it basically all the time. The last camera that I have is actually broken, which is why it's the last camera. This is the Hero 4 Black GoPro. I got this last year before Essen, and I was using it at Essen so that I could do multicam shots, but it has a firmware issue, and it was like manageable, and I was dealing with it, and oh, I just realized it's cracked. But I was actually talking to my friend who works at GoPro complaining about this camera, and she was like, yeah, actually there's a defect in a number of cameras that are that model, and so you probably should do a warranty replacement. So I called them today, told them the issues, and they were like, yeah, that's broken. So this camera is getting a replacement. The idea was it would eventually replace my Hero 3 for when this dies. So this would become a secondary camera. This would become my primary camera at conventions and stuff like that. Also, when I have Steve with me at conventions, we can do dual camera, which is what we're planning to do at Essen. Hopefully we'll get the replacement for this in time. I don't even know if this video is before or after, so you go. Those are the cameras that I use, and I talked a little bit about some of the accessories. The other accessories that I have is for at-home recording. We just have a standard tripod. On my GoPros, I use these GoPro lens covers, and they fit right on top of the lens, and you can't use these with the cases, but this is the secret to it always looking like I'm talking directly to you at reviews or vlogs. It's because when you put the lens cover on the GoPro, I'll demonstrate with this one, when you put the lens cover on the GoPro, it makes the lens reflective. So I'm actually talking to myself. I'm actually making eye contact with the reflection of myself, which is making it look like I am making eye contact with you, and that's kind of the trick. It also can help me frame, so it's so reflective that I know you can now see my small game shelf with my very fancy cardboard curtain, and if we go over this way, that's the other window with the Goomba hat. And I wear that hat whenever I go to PAX. I can spin around this way, and we can see, oh, the cat is too dark. The cat walking in the room. So that's my secret to being able to point things, is that little lens cover. It's reflective. Spoilers. That's another reason why I don't use the selfie stick, especially with the waterproof case, because then I can't use my cool lens cover thing. And yeah, also all the GoPro selfie sticks that I've seen, like they add like a creak. I have one that I use occasionally, and it's this one. It's the really nice telescoping one, and I use the frame mount on it, but the reason, and it can like go out multiple levels, it's super bendy, but the reason why I use this and the way that I most often use it is it has a tripod in the bottom. So you screw up in the bottom, and then you do that, and then you open it, and then you angle the frame, and hey look, it's a table camera mount for a GoPro when I just want to film like footage. So I can leave one GoPro in the frame, and then the other one I can do like hand stuff, and this was back when I had two somewhat functioning GoPros. So sometimes maybe I will use a selfie stick, but I don't really like to use it. I still prefer holding the camera in my hand. It makes it less obvious that I'm recording. It also makes it easier for me to like know what I am recording, and this just feels weird. So I don't really film with this much, mostly just for using table tripods. This is a GorillaPod. This is rated to hold the DSLR camera, so when I want to hold the DSLR on the table, or if I want to do selfie mode with it, like I did for the Gen Con list video, I filmed like this. It's very Casey Neistat. If you don't know Casey Neistat, who are you? Why are you on YouTube? So I use that one. Otherwise, I think that's about it. I do have another selfie stick that I use. I don't really know where it is. It's a monopod. I used to use that at conventions a lot more when I was using the DSLR, because I could put it in my belt loop and do like a Steadicam thing, or I could put it on the floor and like rest the camera so I didn't always have to hold the camera, which was really nice because setting up a tripod at a busy convention is like crazy. The last accessory that I have for filming at home would be studio lights. So I have two of these lights. It came in a 2-pack, and they have 4 fluorescent bulbs inside of it. You're also seeing a very messy living room. But they're just tripod mounted white lights. They disassemble and pack up really small. I usually use it to reflect up. So that's the last accessory. As far as editing goes, I edit all my footage with Final Cut Pro. I have been trying to branch into Adobe Premiere because occasionally Final Cut Pro, my install of it will like get a bug, or some of the footage that I'll be editing has like a glitch in it, especially when I was using this camera a lot. A lot of the footage that this camera filmed would be corrupted, and so Final Cut doesn't handle that really well, and so it would crash a lot and it would take me forever to edit like 10 seconds of footage because it would crash like 15 times. So Adobe Premiere handles that much better, but I don't actually like using Adobe because I've just done Final Cut for all these years. So, before I started using Final Cut or Adobe Premiere, I was using iMovie, which is the free video editing software on Macs, and that worked really well for me until my videos started getting so, not complicated, but like busy, that I would crash iMovie pretty consistently. So my friend, who's super awesome, he actually bought me the license for Final Cut Pro 10, and I'm still using that one that he bought me. I do all my editing on my MacBook Pro, which I bought for editing a few years ago, back when I had more disposable income. I also have a 2 terabyte hard drive that I store all my video raw footage on and I edit with. I actually have 3 of those, and I put backups on different ones. So there's one that is the main one that I use to take with me everywhere, and I put the raw footage on and I edit, and it's got like all my music clips and stuff like that. And then the other ones are just like backups of past videos. Of course, every once in a while I'll go through and find like raw footage that I shot forever ago and I never edited. So that's happening all the time, especially right now as I'm like getting back into the flow after a year and a half of kind of a semi-hiatus. So yeah, that's what I do for hard drive memory stuff. For SD cards, I use 64 gigabyte SD cards. For the new GoPro, I actually bought a larger one, but it doesn't really matter because it needs to be replaced. So that one's just been sitting in a drawer. But yeah, I use 64 gig SD cards. I have a couple of them. Basically, whenever I have the money or if there's a sale, I'll pick up a new one. They actually last a really long time, so it's not a big issue. But I have at least 2 for every camera, so that if I fill one up during a show and I haven't had a chance to like dump all the raw footage, I can hold on to it. Or I actually will try not to erase the footage even after I've put it on the hard drive, so that if I get home and I realize, oh, this was corrupt, I can re-import it from the SD card. So yeah, that's, I believe, all the equipment. If you have any more questions about how I edit or film or anything like that, leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible. I've put links to all the equipment that I mentioned in this video down below, so you can get your own if you want. I will say that the Rode mic has since changed. Some of this stuff, I've had it for so long that it's no longer like available, but I know you can usually buy used versions. Don't know if I'd recommend that. Trying to think if there's anything else that's somewhat relevant. Yeah, I think that's it. Secret's out. Sorry.